Welcome to another edition of Swim Easy Speed. Today we're going to look at Jocelyn McCauley, and what I'm going to do is I've got a lot of video on Jocelyn. Some of this is going to be from the pro camp. Some of this is going to be from later in the year around April, and you'll get to see kind of what we're trying to get out of her stroke and how we're trying to change it. So you can see she's doing a lot of things really, really well. Stroke's fairly balanced. She's longer on the water. We're still trying to get her kick a little bit more integrated into the stroke. But you can see, she's got, really great position right here. She keeps that elbow high, starts to pull herself forward, so you can see that hand just pointing back to the back of the pool. When we ran the sensors on her, I think one of the things we talked about was getting her chin up just a little bit. You can see her hips are near the surface, feet are near the surface, even for the endless pool where, we got a lot of pressure right there to go down. So she's got a lot of core engagement. So in the camp, we really only worked on one thing when she was here. And that was, I wanted to get her stroke a little bit higher tempo. And then there was some, work done by Russell Marks, who was the high performance director at USA Swimming for a long time. He's now at ASCA. And he did some work on looking at the Australian Ariana, I'm going to screw this up, Titmus. And she's a world record holder in the 400 free. And looking at her stroke and what she was doing, which wasn't rotating as much through the stroke. So instead of that deltoid touching the cheek, when she was rotating, there was a little bit of daylight in between. And so what we wanted to do what I wanted to do with Jocelyn was, just try to find maybe a little bit more stability for her. So she's not rotating as much through the stroke. So you won't see the hips and shoulders going as much. You won't see kind of, you can see a little bit of this imbalance right here, which can lead to this imbalance back here. And then that was going to naturally also tempo up her stroke and, maybe eliminate some dead spots, and give her a little bit more speed, because you can see right here, this looks really terrific. We typically want to be about 100 to 110 degrees. She's right in there. That's why she's able to generate a lot of power on the water, and swim fast. It looks like from this angle, it looks like the right might be a little bit wide outside of her body. It's tough to tell with this angle, but, in general, it looks pretty good. You can see you don't see much. It's basically just the frontal drag is just her shoulders, shoulders up here. There's not much coming back down. A little bit, but not a ton. And so really all we worked on was just trying to, lighten that rotation of the stroke just a little bit. So we're going to shorten up the stroke, but we're going to tempo it up a little bit. And trade-off would be a little bit more stability. So here you can see this was kind of the first go at it. And you can see the tempo went up. I think 1.7 was where we started. This is like about 1.35. And then you can see here, this is after a few months of working on it. And it's definitely going in the right direction. And then, the one thing that we're still trying to work on, you can see the feet kind of coming apart. This connection in the legs back up to the core is getting better. So if we back up, you can see, it'd probably be easier to see. And you can see how the legs just don't look terribly connected there. All right, so here's kind of some of the data. So this is looking at the propulsion on both sides on both strokes. So this was right here was, this was January. This was April. And, what you can see is here's the little bit of a longer stroke. So you can see these gaps right here in between when the left and right propulsion start to take over. Now, the one thing we want to remember is the most costly part of swimming is from this deceleration back up to the acceleration. And that's because we're accelerating from drag. So and here's another reason why kicking is important. So kicking will put kind of a floor on how much you can decelerate. and provides more stability. More stability, you're going to be creating less drag in the water. So then this won't be as costly to get back up to the top. So you can see when she's tempoed up a little bit, these are getting closer together and even overlapping. So we're not having to kind of start from zero to get back up to the top of our acceleration. And, this is always going to be a work in, swimming is always a work in progress. But this is where we're trying to take her stroke where, she can have a little bit more stability, a little bit more efficiency, put a little bit more power down in the water to try and close that gap that she needs to close with some of the fastest swimmers in triathlon and long course. So, and then allow her kind of to be in the race for the bike and the run. Close that gap. So, yeah, that's what we've been working on and what it looks like. And so, Jocelyn's, great athlete, tremendously focused and hardworking. So, I have no doubt she's going to get where she wants to be. So as always, thank you for tuning in. And if you have any questions, I am always happy to answer questions.